Okay, on the other arm here, I have a dagger, and it's kind of like put in my skin with that slit, like that. And the dagger, like most of my tattoos serve as reminders if you haven't gotten the gist yet. But the dagger was about the fact that I have all the tools I need to protect myself. And by that I mean, a lot of the times I get demoralized because I feel like I get hurt and I feel like I don't have anything to defend myself with, if that makes sense. Like when something hurts my feelings, I'm a very sensitive person, so sometimes my feelings get hurt for completely stupid stuff. And the dagger is there to remind me that like I have a weapon to protect myself, which is my logic. Here I have a laughing skull, and it says, death will tremble to take us. This one's literature based again. I've been obsessed with Bukowski since a very long time, and that is one of the quotes. And I really like that feeling of almost invincibility, but better than that, because it's not naive, because it's like, yes, we're gonna die, yes, we can't escape death, but we're gonna live our lives so fully that death is gonna be scared to take us. And I really like that message. And funnily enough, this is one of the tattoos my mom actually really likes. Here, there's a quote that is Andy Warhol, and I've always liked his art, even though, okay, I'm not gonna go into it. I've always liked his art. And there's this quote that pretty much he says, I'll paste it down in the description so you can see all of it because I'm just gonna paraphrase, but pretty much he's like, so all this shit happened to you, so what? You keep going, so what? You know, it's like, there's no excuse for you to kind of let go of what you want in life or to abandon all hope. Like, no matter what shitty thing happens, so what? You keep going. Back here, I have a tattoo of just like a forest. Okay, so there's the tattoo of the forest, and that one's about, it's a quote that I also have on my finger, which is another just like tree from the forest. And that's from Walden, and it's the quote that's really famous in Dead Poets Society, where it talks about sucking the marrow out of life and living life to the fullest. So it's a little bit cliche. It's kind of a second version of Carpe Diem, but not really. I'll post that below too so you can read the whole thing because I don't want to make this longer than it probably already is. This is actually my second tattoo, this one. And it says, Omnia vincit veritas, which means that the truth conquers everything. There's an original quote that says love conquers everything, but as you can tell, I'm not really that kind of person, so I changed it to truth. And this one's a little personal, but pretty much the gist is when I was younger, when I was a baby still, my dad cheated on my mom and our family split up, obviously. And since that happened, you know, when I realized what happened, I always kind of promised myself that I would never lie in a way that can destroy someone's life, because it's not realistic to say that we never lie. Like, people lie all the time and they're white lies, but there's a very distinct difference between saying like, oh, I can't hang out because I need to go to the doctor, and saying like, hey, yeah, I love you, let's get married, and then just kidding and they cheat on you with someone, right? Okay, then there's this one with the vampire teeth, and it says in Italian under, sangue freddo. Sangue freddo literally means cold blood, but it doesn't mean the same thing as in English. There's a saying in Italian that says calma sangue freddo, which means to be calm and keep your blood cold instead of having like your blood boiling and be all freaking out. It's like, calm down a second, relax, and then think about what you're gonna do next. And I kind of liked the vampire teeth with it, because when I think of cold blood, for some reason I just think of like vampires, so I thought that the two together would look cool. Plus, like, this is completely my aesthetic of tattoo, so the phrase means a lot to me, and the design was something that in my head I've always connected to the phrase for some reason, so the writing is really the meaningful part. Here I have another Bukowski quote that says, "We are eaten up by nothing." And it's from a quote of his, and I'll put that below too, but pretty much it's just the fact that humans are very vulnerable, and sometimes we allow things to eat us up inside when they're irrelevant. And this applies to me in a lot of ways, but I feel like it works especially in terms of social media. Like, I can't even all the people who have told me at some point that they were upset with themselves because they didn't look like people online, or they hadn't achieved as much as someone online, or things like that. Like, I think it's so relevant with the media that we get eaten up by just seeing a post in the caption and being like, holy shit, like, I haven't done half of what this person has done, or they've achieved so much and I haven't. Here I have another date, 23rd of August. This one's a little depressing, but pretty much I tried to kill myself that day. Obviously I didn't die, but that was kind of the day where, even if I was still depressed, I decided that I was gonna hang around and that I wasn't gonna go anywhere. There's a sequel part to that story that's also really depressing, so if you want to hear that, I can tell the story. So here I have one that says, no idols, no gods. And that one is directly about social media, because recently I feel like I've gotten very absorbed into the whole world of looking pretty and achieving all this stuff and being super fit and being all in the last fashion. And I feel like I haven't really given into it. Sometimes I like trends, sometimes I don't, but I don't force myself to be any kind of person. But I do feel sometimes that I get sucked up into this world of like, why don't I look like her? Why don't I work out as much as her, or whatever? And that's why I want to say no gods, no idols. Sorry, backwards. No idols, no gods. Because I don't want to idolize or make a god out of anyone. Because I think, well, most of the time it's unhealthy, realistically. So on this arm here, it says we were born to die. And on this side here, it says come and take a walk on the wild side. On this side, it says come and take a walk on the wild side. That's a Lana Del Rey quote. I have another Lana tattoo. Pretty much I just found her when I was having a really hard time in my life, and I'll explain more about that if you care to know. This is also one of my first tattoos. It says I'm not sorry. This isn't about the sorry, not sorry, but it's just about a lot of the times when I started getting tattoos and when I started finding my style more, I got a lot of criticism from some people in my family, and then some people around me too were just like not supportive. And my style isn't by any means like crazy or anything, but it's just like I feel like some people wanted me to fit into a box that I was not supposed to fit in. And this is really just about not being sorry about who you are, not appearance-wise and fashion-wise only, but just like your personality. Like my mom says that sometimes I'm too sensitive and that I come off as intimidating, and I don't want to be intimidating. Like I can be a perfectly nice person, but I'm also not sorry for the way I come off. I come off the way I come off, and that's how it is. I'm not gonna apologize for that. Here we have one that says Friday. This one is about the kind of life I want to live. It's a little bit cliche, but pretty much my goal in life would be to be as happy every day as I am on a Friday. And I know that sounds really flat and boring, but the reality is that most people live their lives waiting for the weekend, me included. And the thing is, like, I want to live a life that I genuinely love so much, what I'm doing, whether it's job or school or whatever, that I feel like every day is Friday. Like I'm excited for every day like I am for a Friday. So this one says too late, and it's a cigarette pack. And this one's about regrets. And I think of cigarettes when I think of regrets, just because you know how cigarettes on the pack, they always have those warnings of like, if you keep smoking, this is gonna happen, blah, blah, blah. And those threats. And sometimes I think of regrets as almost threats, being like, you could have done this, but instead you did this, like as a kind of blame. Cigarettes always kind of have that blame, and I'm not saying it's good to smoke or anything, but I feel that with regrets too, it's a kind of like blame to yourself of like, I should have done this or I shouldn't have done that. And I wrote too late because you already did it or didn't do it. So that's that. It's too late to do anything other than move on, and that's something I need to hear, trust me. In here, I have these violent delights have violent ends. It's a quote from Romeo and Juliet. If you watch Westworld, you've probably heard it a million times now. I got this like before Westworld, but whatever. This one's about some tendencies I've had in the past. And I'm not gonna really go too much into it, but let's say I have a very addictive personality, and sometimes that has gotten me into a lot of trouble. Thank you guys so much for watching. Depending on how long this was, I might make it in 2 parts because I don't want you guys to get bored. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please let me know what you want to see from me.